Welcome back to UPress Play, a sports show produced by FAU Student Media. I'm Megan. Alongside me is Morgan and Maddox, and it's been a while. We're live streaming on Owl TV's YouTube. We haven't been back here since, I think, Maddox, the last show was November, 23rd or something like that?
I think so, yeah. It was like, as you were saying, before our show, it was like a week before, a couple days before, Thanksgiving break.
It was right before Thanksgiving break. So how was your guys' Thanksgiving and Christmas?
Thanksgiving was good. We went to my grandma's house and everyone was in charge of getting different foods. And apparently no one got stuffing or mac and cheese. I was so mad the entire time. Like, dude, I would not get one of the best sides for Thanksgiving.
Well,
that's awful.
Mac and cheese is a great side, but stuffing? No, not so much.
Hit or miss. But I was actually really happy this year. I made the mac and cheese for my family. Normally we don't have it. Mm-hmm. And I was nervous because that, like you guys said, that's a big dish.
Oh, wait, did you?
And it was the only one that got finished.
Wait,
so.
did you have the quail or something? Because last time we were doing our draft thing, if anyone remembers from our last episode, we were doing a little Thanksgiving food side dish draft or whatnot. I think you said something about
I had the Cornish hen.
That's
I had it on Christmas Day with my family.
Oh,
but for Thanksgiving, my uncle smoked a turkey for the first time. And it was it was good.
Yeah, my Thanksgiving, I actually stayed here. Didn't want to go back home. It was too much work. I don't have a car.
Yeah.
So we just stayed here, and then for Christmas break, I did go back home, and I met my family, went out to eat. Mm-hmm. I had a great Christmas.
Yeah, that's great. I took a week off from my job and I went back, but most of the time I was just down here working over winter break. Mm-hmm. But I'm excited. This is my last semester, so I'm looking forward to seeing how everything goes this year. And I'm taking multimedia practicum, which actually it kind of stinks because the class is in Fort Lauderdale, but I'm excited. We get to completely just have creative freedom over the project that we work on. Like last semester, he said someone made a video game. So I don't think I'll be making a video game.
Is that one of those classes advanced broadcast journalism, or you can take
it's one of the final ones.
Yeah,
it's either you take advanced broadcast or practicum.
Because that practicum is in Fort Lauderdale. I also don't have a car, so I don't think I'm gonna Uber to Fort Lauderdale.
There was one in Boca, but it just got filled up. Are you guys looking, do you have any classes that you're really looking forward to?
Yeah, I have a couple of classes. I already completed my sports studies minor, but I'm taking a couple of classes in that. Still some classes on studies minor because I just need some electives. And a lot of the classes for my major are already either filled up or are not available this semester. I wanted to take photojournalism so bad. It's not available this semester, which I don't know why. So luckily my two main classes I needed to take were available, but one of the classes I'm taking is a live sports production, which is I'm going to the games, and this past game for the women's basketball game against UAB, for the entire second quarter I worked on camera 3, which that purpose was just to focus on the coaches, the sidelines, substitutes, everything like that. So I did a little bit of that. That was fun. So that class, we just go to the games and whatever assignments they give us, hey, this game we're going to be doing replay, learn replay. We're going to do graphics, learn to do graphics. And it's really fun. I'm also taking sociology of sport, which...
that class was good.
It's very similar to my American sports history class. Mm-hmm. A lot of stuff we're going to be talking about is what we already kind of discussed. But I'm just looking forward to it. I mean, I think he said we're doing a paper or something at the end of the year, which I have a lot of classes want me to read and write. So that's going to be kind of a pain. But
for that class, if he does, when I took it, he allowed us to do a opinion piece.
Yeah, he said
our final one.
He said either do that or some presentation where present in front of the class 5 minutes. I'd rather do that than write a 6 to 8 page paper about the book or whatever. So
what about you, Morgan? You have any?
I have a lot of classes that are also reading and writing.
Yeah.
I guess the one I'm most excited about is actually my elective creative writing because it's different from journalism writing. So it's like exploring other writings that I have to do, which seems interesting to me.
I mean, I think that's like the real like struggle with like, or like the kind of double-edged sword with like the multimedia journalism, like the journalism like major and as a whole. So like, of course you love to do writing and whatnot, but also like so many classes focus on just writing or reading, where it's like, I don't like spend my free time like just reading a whole bunch of stuff or catching up on homework or try and work on assignments, like doing a bunch of writing. I want to like have free time to do something else a little bit different.
Yeah, this should be your guys' like last semester with classes that are focused around that though, because now most of mine aren't, and they're more focused on broadcast and different elements like that.
Yeah, because I have like two more semesters left. But I think like the other like main stuff in the core is like the multimedia stuff, the advanced multimedia. I forgot what else was also like one of the like required classes to take. But like those two like required you have to take. But yeah, I think like these are probably like the last classes really to do that, because for Nick, who's our station manager for radio, he took like a multimedia class last semester, and he said it was like 8-week class. All they did was just work on like interview someone, like edit it and whatnot. It's more like a audio journalism type thing.
Well, I think that's a good little catch-up session for all of us. But now let's get into FAU housekeeping. So besides catching up with just our lives, there is a lot of catching up to do with stuff that's happened within FAU sports. Yeah, there was the winter break and there wasn't classes, but sports, it still obviously went on. The last time that we spoke, it was just before the FAU football played Charlotte. They ended up losing that game 27-39. But in their final game of the season, they completely destroyed Tulsa. It was 63-16, and that was the second most points in a game in FAU's history. So I remember watching that game slightly, and it was shocking because I thought it was their last game of the season. You know, they're already 2-9. They're probably were going to have another loss, but I guess they ended up coming through, and you know, a good moment for the seniors since it was their last game probably playing football in their career. You know, that whole past season was kind of a mess. What do you guys feel like kind of was like the main point that held them back last season?
There's a lot of things, like I don't really know. I still struggle with finding that answer, because they did go from Conference USA to a bigger conference. So I don't know if it was like a talent issue. But then Tom Herman did get a lot of guys from that like talent pool that was supposed to be higher than Conference USA, then didn't really work out. So I know offensively we were just not good. It was kind of seemed like LeJohn Wester kind of really carried the offense 2 seasons ago. And defensively we were okay, but it just seems like we still need to get adjusted to the American Athletic Conference. And I'm excited for the new direction that we're going to talk about soon. And
so speaking of new directions, they actually 3 days after their final game against Tulsa, they announced Zach Kittley, right?
Yeah.
Kittley, as the newest FAU football head coach. He's coming to the school from Texas Tech as an offensive coordinator. He worked there for 3 seasons, and he's produced some of the top like offensive passing programs in college football during his time there. I think, you know, he hasn't served as a head coach prior, and they kind of did the same thing with John Jacobs for the men's basketball team. He never had a head coaching position, and we'll get more into men's basketball later, but we've kind of seen how it's going to be a learning experience for sure. I feel like it's hard to say what the expectations for them could even be. Like, what if we could predict like a season record for next year? Do you think it'll be an improvement from 3-9, or can we kind of expect the same type of trend to continue on with this new coaching staff?
I don't know. I feel like we should expect the offense to be better. That's like, because this is like a passing coach. He's specialized. I mean, he coached Patrick Mahomes, who's now the best quarterback in the NFL. He's coached Bailey Zappi, who was had the most passing touchdowns in Western Kentucky, and then he had the number 9 passing attack and number 12 passing attack in 2 years, the last 2 years with Texas Tech. So we should expect the passing to improve. I don't know about record. I don't know anything about that, especially since I don't know who our defensive coordinator is now since Rock left.
Rock Bellantoni, which also going to discuss a little bit later. He also left, but I mean, just looking at the schedule right now, of course, like still early on, so they only have like just a couple of the non-conference games out. At Maryland and at FIU, and then again in the home game against UConn. So we've seen last season with like FAU won that game, like kind of a little brother type school. So that's kind of just like obvious win. UConn, a little bit more revenge in that sense because like independent school, you go to UConn, you lose 48-14, still don't look great. And I mean the conference overall is gonna be a tough conference. Again, the AAC overall, both in basketball and football, are like the best mid-major really. So you have like tough schools like Memphis who took out some big name powerhouse schools, and like I think they won their bowl game against West Virginia if I remember correctly early on in the bowl season. Tulane they have a lot of great teams in the American, but also a lot of new head coaches as well. I mean, I know all the schools with their mascots named Owl in this conference all have new head coaches. I think Charlotte also has got a new head coach. I think East Carolina, I think they might have kept their head coach. But it's going to be hard to see. I haven't got the conference schedule yet, but looking at non-conference, I mean, going against a Big Ten school, really don't expect much of a win. Maybe just expect some like extra money because that's like more like a bye game. Then you got like going against FIU, little brother. Then home against UConn. That's really like a game you want to see FAU like get redemption on. So too early to tell with the schedule what this team's going to look like. I just feel like going to that introductory presser for him about him. I went there with Al Radio. Just listening to what he said, like he just wants to improve offense. He says our special teams are going to have our best players on them, which is very critical because special teams make special players. And that was like the biggest problem overall, I think unanimously, from all fans, all critics, and people who watch FAU games, was the offense was the biggest struggle. So now I got offensive-minded head coach. Granted, Coach Herman was offensive-minded, but again, just really don't know what the whole problem was with the team past couple of years under Herman. Because again, talk about like the offensive coordinator wasn't that great, or maybe it was a play calling, or just something. Maybe there's just again the overall consistency as a unit, just them being together, maybe not working out that well. But I think having someone like Kittley, who again, granted first-year head coach, but having him has experience coaching some great quarterbacks. Like Bailey Zappi had like a terrific year at Western Kentucky. Patrick Mahomes, who really no like other explanation about that, but he coached Patrick Mahomes. So him having that arsenal offense, more of a passing offense, which you want to see for FAU, because the run game is the strongest part for FAU. But quickly teams knew how good our run game was. They're able to stop that and rely on the offense, which was not many receivers during their recruitment. Some of their off-season transfer guys. I mean, they got a quarterback. I'm trying to remember his name. Kason Veldkamp, who actually was at Western Kentucky, who played in the Boca Raton Bowl in Boca a couple days prior. His top receiver, I think Eason something for us last name as well. His top receivers also joined FAU. So we're getting a lot of key guys on the offensive side and more on the receiving side, which is great. Now we just got to see how that develops. But I mean, again, I thought under Herman the team was going to be great. Before his first year started, I thought it was going to be great because Herman, decorated resume, team's going to do well. Didn't. So now we're just going to see under Kittley what is it going to look like, because I'm about to enter my senior year and I'm going to have 3 head coaches that I've covered for student media.
That's that's crazy.
Yeah.
That in your 4 years at FAU, you'll have experienced 3 different coaches.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see how Kittley separates himself from the others. Yeah.
I'm glad that you said consistency because, last season it was like they had those games where against Wagner, I know that it's obviously a lower school, but they did great against Wagner.
I mean, the first half it was first half they were up 17-10, which is kind of slow. The second half they really won.
But also against North Texas, I felt like that North Texas game was the most that I've seen the team just come together and actually play from an offensive standpoint.
And that brought some optimism to me too. But what I learned as like a student over time here for FAU, just seeing for the football team, is you just can't be too optimistic overall. Because Meg and I for last semester, or our first show back in the set with JD and Cameron, who are now both graduated, we were discussing, okay, look at the schedule, what do we think our predictions were? And everyone was like, well, new college football playoff format, maybe FAU could get to the playoffs. But looking at the schedule and seeing how well the team like developed after their first year with Herman, typically first-year coaches, not that great. First year, some a little bit different, like with Kurt Signetti, how that situation was. But typically, first-year head coach is not that great. First year, second year get a little bit better. So we assumed, okay, second year going to be great. One of the easiest schedules for all of college football. Okay, some upside. All of us were saying about like possibly an 8-9 win record, and all of a sudden drastically changed. But also,
I distinctly remember saying that I did not think they would get a bowl game. So
but we also,
I just want to make that clear. I didn't have faith in them.
But we also have seen some upside during the season. We've seen against like FIU and Wagner some wins, but again, those are not really tough opponents. And then playing against teams like UConn, which I also predicted was like, oh, they will take out UConn because it's an independent school. We don't really know much. I have never seen many UConn games, so we didn't know what that team was like. All I knew was basketball school. They got a football program. Typically, when you're more of like a basketball school, football program ain't really the best. But like seeing that, I was like, okay, that'd be a win. And then they lose 48-14 against UConn. A lot of their games, which they should have won against, they got blown out. I saw the East Carolina game. They were in I think it's like Greensboro where they're at. Against Greensboro, and first quarter, East Carolina puts up 21 points. So it's like, okay, this team has some upside with North Texas game. Though they lost, they had a lot of consistency. They both look like an actual team, full unit, all sides of the ball, working together. But again, like North Texas had one of the best offenses, scoring offenses, passing offenses in the league, not in the league, in all of college football. So of course, we really didn't expect that of a win, but thinking, okay, you put up a great fight against North Texas, and you led for a couple of times in that game. Okay, maybe the next couple of games on the schedule. Okay, now we're all working together. Now Herman calling the plays. Now this team will be good, and it just never did. So it's really hard to try to have some upside. It can be hard to say, but try and find upside for the team because this team can be a roller coaster. It can be playing great games and playing against. Then the next game they're playing completely bad, and it's like, why is there a program?
It's okay. You can say that it's hard to have faith in them just based off of what we've seen. Luckily, well, I guess that sounds mean to say luckily, but I won't have to cover FAU football next season. So hopefully for you guys,
are going to watch some. I'm pretty sure you're going to watch some games. You're going to try to head out to the stadium.
I'll watch it. I have no idea where I'll be, but we'll see. But anyway, besides getting a new head coach, Rock Bellantoni is now leaving FAU. He's going to Auburn University to become their next offensive lineman coach for the 2025 season.
Offensive lineman?
Yeah, outside.
Outside linebacker.
Outside lineman, yeah.
What'd I say?
Offensive lineman. He's a defensive. It's our first show.
It's our first show back.
The second week of the semester.
I'm still getting used to in this new role as the host. But yeah, Auburn's assistant director of communications for football confirmed the news to Angelina Martell, the sports reporter for the UP. I'm like shocked by this because obviously he was initially fired when Tom Herman was let go along with Ed Warner. And then a week later they brought him back. Everyone was all excited. All the players were excited.
He played many men when he said, "I'm back." That was the coolest thing ever. That was so awesome.
He had that tweet where he said, "I'm back," and now he's leaving. So I don't know if he kind of was like upset that he was let go and then got brought back and then had this opportunity arise, and that kind of played into his decision.
Yeah. I'm thinking that he just got an opportunity at Auburn, and it's like, it's a bigger program.
Yeah, SEC school, you want to do that. Like, I thought that too, like, because when he initially got fired, I was surprised by that, and I forgot what I tweeted, but I remember being like, this is really surprising. You're going to see how the team moves on, because a lot of the players were responding to like, wow, they let go the best coach on that staff. So I was like, wow, I'm going to see how that camaraderie with the team, that trust in like the not front office, that trust like the head coach and whatnot. After like their best head coach, that a lot of the players said was let go, and then he came back, and everyone's like, okay, maybe he might stay. I thought for sure maybe Kittley might maybe kept him just to, like what Herman did when he first got here, being like, we're going to keep like the 4 coaches a lot of players know and like, and then I'm going to build around the rest of that. I thought Kittley was going to do something like that, bring in some recognizable faces like Bellantoni, some of a lot of the players on the roster right now still like know and trust and love. I thought it was going to be something like that, but again, we will see how it goes. At the end of the day, this is his coaching staff. We have really the right as journalists say, like, hey, you should have kept Bellantoni. We were kind of surprised by it, but I think at the end of the day, like, I mean, I'm looking at this. I don't know if Bellantoni got a phone call from
it hasn't
Hugh Freeze
been
or whatnot. But I mean,
by FAU yet.
yeah, but I mean, hey, if an SEC school says, hey, we like you, we want you to be our new outside lineman coach, you're probably going to take that opportunity because you want to go play against coach again in the higher levels.
Yeah, I don't think anyone can really blame him for taking that opportunity. But I guess that's all with the updates for football. So that'll be our last football news unless anything crazy happens within this off season.
Unless Ray Lewis becomes a new defensive coordinator or something.
That is not going to happen. But let's get to FAU basketball. So there's also been a lot of changes that's happened within the basketball program. Last time that we met, they were 4-3 and they had just lost to Drake University. Since then, they finished out their non-conference schedule. They lost at Florida Gulf Coast off of a buzzer beater. I remember I was covering that game and it was neck and neck, and then right at the end, it was the last second, and I don't really think anyone thought that shot was going to go in.
I mean, I feel like
haven't we lost to FGCU back-to-back years?
I mean, yeah, I was gonna say because FGCU is one of those schools where you're look at the schedule. Oh, like lower school FAU, a higher level right now. Oh, they'll win that game. But then it's like FGCU is one of those schools where they have your number, especially since FGCU had kind of a similar past like FAU did. Smaller school, smaller gym compared to all the different leagues out there. Went to the March Madness. Went to I think the Final Four, like the Elite Eight or something. So they made also a deep run a long time ago, and so it's kind of like that. It's like a little brother type school. They're in Fort Myers, I'm assuming it's about an hour, 45 minutes.
3
hours.
No,
oh my.
3 hours.
Yeah.
3 hours.
Actually,
my God.
I lived across from Fort Myers.
Across the state from us.
I gotta say, Florida's the weirdest state because when you look at it on a map, it's so thin. But I'm from Tampa, so going from Tampa to Boca is legit 4 hours. I'm like, the state's so thin. How's that 4 hours? So geography is amazing right now. Geography is amazing.
But yeah, then after FGCU, we beat FIU, Jacksonville, and Texas State. Then we lost to Michigan State by 17.
They lost to Michigan State by 17. I can't say that I was really shocked by that, just because Michigan State.
I was just saying, Michigan State.
They're a basketball school.
Yeah, they're a basketball school. They have Tom Izzo.
They're the basketball school. Plus, there's a little bit difficult. It's kind of difficult for seeing a team like FAU very new as a roster to play against Michigan State, because as you were saying, I think it was you or JD might have said last semester, where this non-conference schedule was built by Destiny Mace. It was built for a team that had all that experience and whatnot, and again, that camaraderie as a unit, as a team. And so for this team right now, they're going to get it soon enough. They're going to get. I mean, I remember earlier in the season they were hot on offense, bad on defense. They scored about 100 points a game, but you're also giving them about 101 points, very neck and neck type deal. And now later on, they're doing better defensively. A lot of teams are now just averaging about 60, 70 against FAU, but FAU just having difficulty trying now to be the offensive unit. So sooner or later, they're going to get better as a team. But again, I feel like they got to start figuring that out soon because they're playing against a very tough conference. But for that Michigan State game, I was like, they needed to definitely not win that, but at least get within a close margin and make it look good on the resume. And losing by 17, I don't think, because I haven't checked this rankings yet as of lately if Michigan State is in the top 25. I don't think they are.
Last time I checked, they were.
They're first in the Big Ten.
Oh, first in the Big Ten.
They're ranked 16th.
Oh, 16th, yeah. So I mean, if they were close against, because they lost by 17, they lost by 5 or whatnot, then I think I got a lot more optimism. And that's why I like the beauty with college sports overall is because both football and basketball and other different sports is you're rooting for those teams that you either lost or won against to make sure they're doing well. Versus like with pro sports, like, oh, we defeated, the Celtics, oh, we defeated the Pistons, okay, but are the Pistons not a great of a team? No, okay, so now, sorry.
You didn't have to bring up the Pistons, right?
But being like, pro teams being like, oh, we defeated these teams and we're like a top record, we're going to get the top seeds. Like, yeah, but a lot of teams we face against were not that high of a team or whatnot.
Yeah.
So versus college sports, like, you're not rooting for those teams, you're rooting for those teams that you either lost to by a small margin or defeated to make sure they're so good so you get a better spot. And that's what makes the beauty so, that makes the beauty of college sports.
Those 2 dunks by Michigan State's Cohen Carr, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
There's like 2 electrifying dunks. I was like, oh my goodness gracious.
I mean, yeah, they're ranked first right now in the Big Ten. They're tied with Michigan, actually. So Vlad
is going off.
Yes, Vlad has been doing very well this season. I feel like a lot of FAU's the former players that transferred out, they've all been doing pretty successful.
It's kind of cumbersome to see that, but also it's just great also in the way to see that because you're like, dang, if they just stay at FAU, that'd have been great. We have like a couple of draft guys, NBA players on our teams, but also it's like, it makes sense. I mean, Dusty gets a job, of course, better job at Michigan with like a bigger conference and whatnot. Okay, someone like Vlad wants to go and follow him, that makes sense. Then it's, okay, well, John L. and Elijah are like, well, I'm going to go play against bigger schools in a bigger conference. Then they go against Arkansas and Florida. And then like guys like Giancarlo going to Charlotte, I don't know why he did that, but and you got like Nick Boyd going to San Diego State, which really was like a gut wrench move for him. But again, you want to see these guys succeed, but also it's kind of like I want to see them succeed at FAU. I wish I would see that, but it's great to see them succeed those different leagues because you know that numbers Vlad and Elijah are putting up, they're going to go pro most definitely, and they're going to, of course, have some tape on the NBA draft on the ESPN. They're going to have some tape from that March Madness, and a little bit of some more spotlight for FAU athletics, which is great. But also just want to like have a player go pro from your school because the only one that I can think of is Yolanda Griffith, who is in the National Basketball Hall of Fame, and she played for the women's team back in like the late 80s, early 90s, and she ended up becoming went to the NBA and then ended up becoming a National Basketball Hall of Famer. So that's again great for FAU athletics, great for FAU women's basketball program, which we're also going to discuss a bit later. But I think for the men's program, it's like you really want to see some of them go to the NBA. And we have a lot of those players like John Nell and Elijah and Vlad who are putting great numbers. But at the end of the day, from a mid-major to then going to the NBA, you're probably going to like the G League or something. Better have an opportunity to play for your last season against these tough schools and these tough conferences. SEC has like I think 8 or so teams in the top 25, with Florida being one of the best teams in the country right now. And Elijah playing a huge factor in that as well. I've seen some Florida games. He was playing up like 20 points, so he's doing great there. Vlad playing great numbers for Michigan. And Michigan's already doing a better year than what they did last season with Juwan Howard. So
I mean,
you're glad to see them succeed, but again, you just wish, like, man, they just stay at FAU, but again, you understand, like, the metrics of it. Like, if they did, then going to be in the G League, not get a starting position, not go to the NBA really until, like, 2 or 3 years later versus them wanting to go now.
It completely makes sense. If we were all players, I think that we would take the opportunity to leave and go play for a higher level of basketball.
I mean, there's also some mid-majors where like that high level. Like you go to Memphis or Gonzaga, you're going to probably get like a starting NBA position possibly.
But obviously, everyone kind of looks at the big name universities, and that's what stands out. Even though obviously FAU had their success back when they went to the Final Four, there's those mid-major teams that do have moments of success, but these larger schools are the ones that historically have continued to. You constantly see them in the tournament. Yeah,
especially with John Nell, because he was saying he went to Arkansas because of John Calipari, who produced a lot of NBA players who are killing it right now in the league. He produced a lot of those players, but also like John Nell, again, he just came back from some injury, kind of struggling a little bit offensively, and that's because Arkansas is almost an entirely new team. I think only like one returning player. Everyone else left. So John Calipari is bringing in guys from like Kentucky and whatnot, and from other SEC schools. Brought in Thero, forgot how to pronounce his last name, but that guy from Tennessee, who's also like one of the top teams right now in the country. So bringing in guys from also these other SEC schools, it's been kind of hard trying to figure yourself around that roster where John Ellis becoming more like a bench player versus where he was at FAU, a starting player, which also is kind of that a double-edged sword when you're going from a mid-major to a larger school. It's like, hey, I'm a top guy here, but if I go to this mid-major school, I might get some more playing time, or I might just be put into the bench, not get much playing time. What do I want to do? So
yeah, but anyway, after the Michigan State game, they continued on and they started AAC play. Their first American Athletic Conference game was against Memphis on January 2nd, where they got blown out.
Yeah.
Like, completely. It was bad. It was 90-62. Morgan, you covered that game. What do you feel like just went wrong the whole time?
Really, it feels like there's a few issues with FAU basketball that I see. One of them is they have kind of an inconsistency issue where they get hot really 1 second, right, and they have a good stretch, and they either take a good lead or they tie the game up if they were down, and then they go on like 4 minutes with 0 points, and the other team has 10 points, right? The same thing happened with the UAB game.
Yeah, that happened last night.
Yeah, I think UAB had 2 stretches where it was like 12-0 or something like that.
Yeah, and the FAU was like 5-0, or like also like 10-0 or something as well. It's like both sides.
Exactly, and it's like there's too much inconsistency with this team, just in general. One of the biggest things I see though is that FAU has this thing where they're missing shots from like out on the perimeter, and they're gonna keep trying those shots no matter what, if they're making it or not. And I feel like sometimes we discussed this a little bit. They should maybe try to go hit the basket and try shots closer at the basket instead of just keep on missing perimeter shots.
Their 3-point shooting that game was 16.1%.
Yes,
I think that's the worst that they have ever shot from 3-point
That reminded me a lot of, I remember being in the newsroom when they played against Northwestern in the first round March Madness or first round exit, and they kept trying to shoot threes. Like, you're not going to get these threes. Work well on try to be better like defensively, try to stop Northwestern, try to start fouling or stopping the clock, but also go for twos, go for layups or something. Yes, we're going to go for 3-pointers, we're going to cut that lead shorter and shorter, but also sometimes just take the layup and then try to foul and stop the clock the entire time. That's what we were mentioning before we started our show right now, was they should have done was fouled and try to get like jumpers or whatnot through pressuring the three. The end of the game, they tried like 4 times for 3-pointers, missed all of them, and the clock ran out. And they were down by 5. It's like, just go for a layup, be within 2, foul, see if Northwestern, not Northwestern, see if UAB gets a couple layups, or a couple of free throws. If not, then try and run down the ball, run down the court, and either shoot like a game winner 3, or try again, get into the basket, and then foul again. Try to stop the clock, be better time management. But that's what you were kind of saying as well, like problems being inconsistency. And also I saw one time someone, after that game, someone on Twitter was saying that they haven't got that clutch factor yet, but it still takes time to build. But I also feel like now we're in this season where conference opponent in a couple of months is the conference championship tournament. So you better start playing now. So you better start building that clutch moment, that clutch factor, because a lot of these guys, I was mentioning this also last year on our show, where what's difficult with this roster is everyone on the team that transferred, a lot of them average about double digits for their respective schools, which is great for FAU because, that means everyone's very offensive heavy. Problem is, not everyone's like, and I got to share a ball with another person who's all these other guys averaging double digits as well. So again, the offense was great there and the defense was bad. Now it's kind of even in a way where they're just having difficulty trying to score, but also be defensively. Like, I've been seeing sometimes, like, I think against the UAB game, it was like either Kiki or whatnot, whoever was like going for like a corner 3, missed it, and no one for FAU was around the rim for the rebounds. 3 UAB guys got the rebound. I'm like, so one problem was no one's also doing the rebounds. So there's some stuff they have to build along with that. But
well, in the UAB game, they actually did lead with rebounds. They had 46 compared to 40. But I don't know. Now they're 2-2 in conference play. So they started out with a loss to Memphis. And then they went on and had a win against East Carolina, and then they also defeated Charlotte. And then last night they lost to UAB. It was 81-76. But in the Charlotte game, Coach Jacobs was emphasizing how he was really proud of their defense and how it was at 32%. And he was saying that he wants to focus on having less than 10 turnovers a game because turnovers has been a huge thing for them. Every single game, I feel like we're talking about how many turnovers they've had. That game was also a little exciting because they got to play Giancarlo Rosado, and he's actually been doing better this season with Charlotte compared to when he was at FAU. He's been averaging 12.1 points per game, and I believe last season it was around like 6 or 7 for FAU.
Because he was also like the third guy on like the as a center
yeah,
position.
that's what he's playing a lot more because he always was second in under Vlad. But I feel like they need to learn what both of you guys have been saying, that the three, you can't force it. Like, it's not necessarily going to be there, and their three-point shooting has drastically decreased. Their shooting overall has decreased from what we've seen since the beginning of the season. Like, before they were putting up what Jacobs had wanted, he said he wanted them to have 100-point games, and that's what they were doing. But now, the last couple of games, it's been
about 70,
78, 62, 69, like, I don't understand how it has drastically decreased the past month.
I remember also listening to the post-game presser from that game last night, and one of the things that Jacobs was proud of, if I remember correctly, was for the second chance points, because UAB was like known like historically in like the league right now being a great team for second chance points. So, like FAU winning that, which second chance points are very important in college basketball and basketball in general, because if you don't make it the first time, able to get it the second time, that's good, keeping the game going. So they were leading the game by like I think second chance points, which is great. But now we got to see like, okay, they still have a lot of things to work on. I mean, defensively, I think they were starting to get there, find their identity on defense. So now the offense is no longer really finding their identity. In the beginning, they were kind of finding that identity. They were putting about 100 points. In the first like 5 games, 3 of them were like, I think had about like 100 points or close to 100 points. So they were there offensively, but weren't there defensively. Now it's kind of changed in the fact where they are there defensively. Offensively, they're struggling, and that kind of goes back to the 3-point shooting is a big problem also. So it's kind of struggling with the turnovers. Got to work on that. So with a whole new team of, again, everyone averaging about double digits of the different schools coming together in this new program under a new head coach, it's going to be kind of difficult trying to find that identity, try to find that camaraderie. They're eventually going to get there because it's starting to become like that whole unit we're starting to see, but they're just not there yet, and they have to do that quickly because, again, in a couple of months is going to be the March Conference Championship, and then right after that is a March tournament. So you have to be prepared as what your identity is now, especially because you're 2-2 in your conference, and they had a chance to be the second in their conference standings if they won that game, and the AAC, one of the best conferences, one of the best mid-major conferences, if arguably possibly one of the best basketball conferences right now, and you gotta start playing better. You gotta start playing better quickly.
Yeah, but on that note, if you're a club or student organization wanting to promote an event that you're hosting, or you just want to promote yourself, DM UPress Sports on Instagram with 3 to 4 sentence paragraph, and then we'll read it live on the air. Now, the basketball, their next game is against Tulane on Wednesday at 7:30. You guys have any predictions for the outcome of that matchup?
I gotta look up how Tulane's doing right now.
Tulane's around the same. They're 9-8 as
Right.
well, 3-1 in conference play. It kind of seems like, besides maybe like Charlotte, like all the teams basketball-wise are kind of close together when it comes to like overall. I truthfully don't know. I know last year the Tulane games were really great between FAU and Tulane. I remember there was one game where it went to overtime, double overtime.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I mean, they also just played against South Florida this past Saturday, and they won 73-70 with one of their players, Woods, leading with 15 points. So, I mean, that's one guy you got to look out for is Asher Woods. 9.3 points per game, 1.9 rebounds, 2.4 assists. That's like a guy you want to look out for on that team.
It's really hard because this FAU can be really inconsistent. So they can match up, like they can play well against Tulane, or they can just not come into play. So
yeah, I think we could see a win out of that game from them, just because Tulane, like looking at how they've been shooting so far this season, they're kind of averaging what FAU has been doing recently, around like the 80-point range. So as long as their defense is on, which I feel like from a defensive standpoint, the team has been really improving. I think it's going to be a good game. I mean, both the teams seem pretty equally matched. Yeah, Tulane has the 3-1 record in the AAC right now, but I mean, AAC play just started, so I feel like it's kind of hard. There isn't really clear separation yet between the teams. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see how they can.
They also have two guys who are averaging double digits. Got Caleb Banks averaging 18.1 points and Rowan Brumbaugh averaging 13.9 points. So I feel like just looking at the averages for the players for scoring, I feel like FAU could probably outmatch them, even though they average about 76 points a game. I feel like FAU could outmatch them. They just got to work on the turnovers, and they just got to not try to force the threes. Don't be like the NBA right now, or just try and force three-pointers every single game. Just, if you can't do that, get a second chance points and try to go under the post. You got a lot of tall guys on your roster. You got a 6'11" guard and Baba Miller. You got a 7-foot center and Matas Okatitis. Trey Carroll was having fun last night, putting up dunks and whatnot. So you got these tall players on your team, very tall team. You got to use that length to your advantage, have them go in the post. And I mean, because also Trey Carroll is very big muscular. He can also, like, I feel like, kind of challenge some guys under the rim to try force to get that basket and like whatnot. So you can try to use those guys to your advantage. Try not to force those 3-pointers. Trust your big guys up front to try to go under the post and get a layup or get a dunk or something, get those second chance points, and try not to do that many times. Try not to force the threes as much.
I do want to say Carroll has really surprised me this season. I mean, I know that last season we kind of saw moments where he would come off the bench and he would do well off the bench, and he would come in when they were kind of struggling a little bit and help circulate some momentum for the team. But this season, he's worked up to become a starter over Vokatitis. The last 3 games, Jacobs has had him as the starting 5. And he's also the team's leading scorer. So I feel like he's kind of stepping into that, like, consistent role where I feel like there's been certain players like Kai Tandy. He's had certain games at the beginning that he really did well. Moretti, also same situation.
The maestro,
Yeah, Baba Miller, I mean, every game I feel like he's also pretty steady. He'll have some nights where he shoots like 20 points compared to.
Yeah, he just had 500 career points.
Yeah, he just hit 500 last night, but he also only scored 10 points last night. So it's kind of hit or miss with certain ones, but I feel like Trey, I'm really shocked to see his level of consistency, and I'm sure that he's really happy. I mean, he's been with this team for 4 years now, and he hasn't really had this moment before, so I'm sure that it's like a good feeling for him.
Plus, I mean, when you see like how that game last night, like him dunking and whatnot, even just trying to get the crowd like pumped and whatnot, like you can tell the fans were just loving him. The fan base adores Trey, so I feel like now he's kind of finding that role that he wants with this roster, especially since a lot of guys that's one of the big problems though, is like a lot of players are trying to figure out on this team who they are, their identity as a unit, having trouble trying to be consistent and whatnot. And Trey being one of those consistent guys, but also being one of the only players on the team that really had minutes playing over the past couple of years with Dusty May. So him being that leader type of role, and like kind of also bringing the players to understand the campus and the fan base and the environment and everything. It's just great to see Trey Carroll now again a moment to shine for him.
I think for the rest of this season, like, you know, starting with this Tulane game, I think we just got to still build the chemistry, and even if it may not, you know, be what we expected at the end of the season, if we don't make March Madness, I think that this is still like, you know, usually when there's new coaches, it takes a year.
Yeah.
So like, you know, we're talking about
But I feel like also college sports as it is now, where I think just maybe not just even college sports, but like pro sports in general.
Yeah.
It's like you have to win like now or you're gonna be done. Because I mean, we've seen right now for college football, Chris Ignetti brought Indiana from being at 3 wins to like program high 11 wins first season they made to the playoffs. You're seeing coaches in college basketball right now, like Dusty May first year in Michigan, and have to check their record. But I mean, they're doing right now.
They're 5-0 in the Big Ten right
so
now.
for the first year, and they're already doing great. So now a lot of programs think are now being like, if you don't win for us now within this year or the next year, then we're probably going to have to find someone else, because that's not how college sports and sports in general are going, where the coaching staff's like, we can't rely on you to be here for like 10 years and not really get us much success in the postseason. We need you to win now or not.
I feel like you need to find a balance between that, like, in all honesty, because you can't let people go too early, because you need to let things develop, especially since this is like an entirely new team besides three, 4 players. And you also can't let them stay for too long. So I mean, they need to find a good balance.
I feel like the window should be like 4 years or so. Like
a little long.
Possibly, also like on
long.
4 or 5. Oh, you think it's a little long?
It's a little long. Like, we should be starting to get
3 years.
Like, we should be contending for like the AAC championship 2-3 years, I think.
Yeah. Well, I meant like 4 years with, if they're making a decision to fire someone or not. Like 3-4 years is
I think 2 to 3 would be good, because I think the first year, like, kind of iffy. The second year should like start building your non-conference building, like the roster should be. But also speaking on the fact of like again, like overall sports coaches like winning and losing and whatnot. A little bit of like kind of off subject here, but so some breaking news: Mike McCarthy's now out as the Cowboys head coach. So I'm also saying that too, where coaches like not having success the past couple of years, now we gotta let you go because. Not needing you to win now or never. That's what we're seeing right now across the landscape for college, for sports in general, where everyone's now starting to win, starting to do great. Their first year or second year head coaches, whereas like when I'm looking at my other teams, and not many are doing that. Now we got to make a decision.
The landscape's definitely a lot tougher than it was in the past, and just the level of competition, and now with NIL deals and all of the stuff that it's really exploded, but not every team is going to be the best. There, you know, there has to be the teams that are going to keep winning, and then the ones that are going to have the poorer records. So
plus, also, I mean, Jake is like in his first year as head coach, who's also truly understanding an entirely new roster.
So there's a lot of adjustments that FAU's been going through. With Jake is getting used to his first head coaching position, the whole new coaching staff aside from one, all the new players. You know, I mean, I feel like we're not being harsh, but we do have to understand, like, there's just so much changes that's happened. So realistically, 9-8 isn't that bad. Like, I
mean, I think overall just having a winning record right now is great, but I feel like, again, sooner or later you gotta start working better on the being like find that clutch factor, that clutch player. You gotta start really finding your identity now offensively, because we're starting to see how they do defensively. You gotta find how you're doing offensively and have that yin and yang type thing and starting level out, because with this conference, a very tough conference, again, soon enough is going to be March, so you got to be prepared now.
But I think it's about time to kind of start wrapping things up. So there is a little bit more updates within FAU sports. The FAU women's basketball team is also 9-8, and they're 1-3 in the AAC right now. And with the women's volleyball team, in past fall, they actually made it to the AAC championship game after coming in at an 8 seed.
It was
a 6 seed. Sorry, excuse me. But they ended up losing 0-3 to Wichita State. So, you know, they had a really great run last season. So be looking forward to seeing what they can do in the fall. And now with the spring, we have all of the spring sports starting. We have softball, baseball, beach volleyball.
I think tennis is starting.
Tennis, golf. You know, there's a lot of things that'll be happening, and I'm just excited to see what'll be going on this semester. And yeah, I think it's about time to wrap things up. So where can they find you guys?
They can find me on Instagram at MaddoxBlade04 and on Twitter at Maddox Greenberg.
You can find me on Instagram at Megan_Bruinsma and at Twitter, Megan Bruinsma.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, MJ_Larkins.
And see you guys next Monday at 12. Peace.
Peace.